Anyways, Caitlyn Jenner and Piers Morgan had a conversation to do with the transgender athlete conversation, which is a big conversation that's going on right now within the sports industry. Trying to understand where to put them, whether they should create a new category. And I thought it was an interesting conversation. I might not play the whole conversation, but this is some of what was going on, right? So listen to what you have to say.
Because I have a strong view that I support trans rights to fairness and equality, but in issues like sport and women's sport, not to the point where it starts to degrade the fairness and equality for women competitors in sport, for example. You've competed as a man hugely successfully, and now you've transitioned to be a woman. What is your view about this?
Well, first of all, you're right. We have to do the best we can here. But I have said from the beginning, and I stand with it, that I don't want biological boys to compete against women and girls in sports.
Facts.
It's just not fair.
Facts.
Now, obviously, over the last 6 months, especially, because of Leah Thomas at the University of Pennsylvania, she had been on the boys' team just a few years earlier. I do not blame her. She played within the rules, but she dominated. She had gone through male puberty. Her lungs are bigger, her back's bigger, her hands are bigger. She just has a tremendous...
Yeah, so basically they're talking about... so there was this woman who was basically a part of the boys' team prior in swimming. And I think it was like 2, 3, maybe even 4 years before. And then obviously ended up competing in the women's thing because she transitioned into a woman now. She identifies as a female. All of that, right? She's a trans woman. Blew them out of the water. I don't know if I want to play an extra part, but basically what I'm saying is Caitlyn Jenner also agrees. And I think this is a conversation where you do need to... Sorry, I need to move my mic quick. We do need to have the trans community, I believe, even for me to give a full-on opinion on this, which is we need to have a conversation with where trans male and women fit in, not just in sports, in a lot of aspects of life. Now, we've had conversations with males saying that they're women, they're going to a woman prison, and then they're raping girls in prison. We've had girls coming out saying they're not comfortable with a trans woman who hasn't fully transitioned yet going into the women's toilet. It's a lot of conversations, obviously, with sports. I can't remember the exact, but there was a runner. I think she was a South African runner, right? Something like Samaya. I might be incorrect with the name. She was destroying everyone in the 200 meters or 100 meters, whatever race she was on, right? So we need to come into a conversation where we are discussing what we believe is their position. Are we going to create a category for trans athletes to have their own, like a trans category in racing, like we do with the Paralympics? Do we need something like that? It's a conversation I think needs to be had, needs to be confirmed, and needs to be discussed very heavily, because we are constantly having male and specifically more women, because I feel like a trans man who's transitioned from a woman to a man, most men unfortunately won't really complain because they're just going to think they're superior anyways and they're going to win. You know what I mean? It's not like they're going to be taking a loss. They're probably going to beat the new broski who used to be a woman, right? But in terms of women's, but then again, that's another thing, because then it might be unfair for the brother who now identifies as a brother to think, oh, I can't compete anymore because I'm now a man. Do you know what I'm saying? So we need to kind of figure out what we're doing with the trans community in terms of where they fit in, whether that's in sport, whether that's in toilets, whether that's in prison sentencing, places that are traditionally known to just men and women competing, toilets, prisons, we need to now figure out where does a trans fit in, and I think that's a very important conversation that we need to be having, because I for more have friends. I got one of my homies, trans male now, used to be a woman, now identifies as a he him. He's a male now. He's still going through his traditional periods and doing his thing. Salute to you, my broski. You know who you are. Don't need to say no names. And you know, there is still conversation that needs to be had. Even me and him, we have these conversations where we need to fully understand, okay, where do you fit in? Because if you go to, let's say my guy now goes to a male prison, my guy might not have the physical attributes to survive in a male prison, coming from a more feminine upbringing or a side, which is just a fact. It's just what it is. You would be worried. You would probably wonder, can they survive? Are they physically able and mentally stable to survive in a room full of male criminals? I don't know. It's a conversation. I think it's an interesting conversation. When we're talking sports, we're talking any form of things where you can tell the difference in either physical build or whatever. It's a conversation that needs to be had. It's a very important conversation. I salute to Caitlyn Jenner, because she even said a story. If you want to see the full clip, I'll put a link in it. She even said she plays golf with her ladies friends, and they always invite her to competition. They say, come to the competition, and she said she doesn't want to take she doesn't want to come and take the award away from them, because she can hit hard. She can hit a lot harder than them. Like she said, she got longer arms, bigger hands. She's just physically more stronger, because obviously she has been able to be a man for a long period of time before transitioning into a woman. Now, an interesting thing that she mentioned was that there's kids from early ages of 5, 6, 7 that basically take their pills to stop their periods. So if you're a man and you take these things that helps, I can't remember the exact term, the correct term, but you take something and you basically don't have your puberty, you miss your puberty. I said period, didn't I? Wow, I meant puberty. So you basically miss that puberty because you stop it from happening. She was saying those people who become trans women, who transitions from a male to a woman, by having those things that stopped their kind of like puberty and male masculinity coming in, and etc., should be able then to compete with the woman, because they won't have those physical attributes that somebody who did go into puberty and was a man for longer, like those extra, like, sorry, somebody send me a long message, but anyways, somebody coming from that wouldn't then have those extra edge over a woman, right? Because they never had that male puberty side go through. So that's a very good argument. I think that's fair. But then that's another issue then, because then you're basically saying they're cool but the rest of them aren't. It's just difficult, right? I would just love to see what the athletics, but the sports boards for all these major events come up with. I think it's a very important conversation. I think it's something that we need to figure out, and I think it's something that needs to be seen and heard. It's very interesting to hear about. I didn't know people as young as 5 and 6 were, stopping puberty or hormones, whatever it is that they're stopping. I didn't even know that was a thing. Very interested to read more about it. I really want to sit down with somebody of the trans. I literally just said I have a friend, so I might sit down with my brethren. I just really want to try and understand what it is that they go through, how they feel about the athletics thing. Obviously, I heard what Caitlyn Jenner's seen, but that's coming from an ex-athlete. I want to see somebody who isn't an athlete, see what their opinion is. I think it's a very interesting conversation, because with the prison system, they're talking about now not putting any trans woman in a woman prison. They're gonna go straight to the men's. That's been a conversation that I've been seeing around. So I am very interested to see where that goes. But listen, let me know what you lot think about trans in the athletic scene. Do we need a new category? Should they have a trans tournament? Let me know. I want to know because that's an interesting conversation. Let's go into